Okay, so today we are talking to Suze Chadwick. She is a bold business and mindset coach. She's an author and speaker who supports entrepreneurs to go from business confusion to clarity, courage, and CEOing at the next level, which is just the most amazing, I think, description for you here. Welcome, Suze. It's so great to have you here. Um, Look, I could tell the audience all about who you are and what you do. Obviously, I'm part of your Bold Business Academy, but I guess tell us a little bit about yourself and for people who perhaps haven't met you in all of your gloriousness just yet.
Hey, ladies. So nice to be here. So I basically am here to help you to become bolder. I feel like women in the entrepreneurial space have so much to give and are so talented and so incredible. And I just really want them to believe it as much as I believe it, to be honest. And so I have been a business coach since 2015, which is when I started my business. When I started my business, I was in a senior leadership role in corporate 3 days a week. I had a 5 and a 3-year-old, and then I was building my business on the side. So I have done the side hustle thing before, and then I went full time in my business a while ago. And yeah, it's just been amazing since then. So I coach women in business on business and mindset.
Excellent. And yes, you do a phenomenal job, if I do say so myself. Suze
Thanks.
also has a podcast, so make sure you go and tune into the Brand Builders Lab. You'll find a couple of episodes by me on there as well, which is very exciting. And I guess before we dive into the first questions, I just want to say a huge thank you to you, Suze, because it's really because of you that the two of us are actually here. So I remember many years ago, I don't know how long, pre-pandemic, we met for a coffee. You might remember that day. And you said to me, Krishla, do you do any speaking? And I was like, oh no, I couldn't do that. Like I couldn't speak. And after that coffee, I was kicking myself and I thought, why didn't I just say yes? Why didn't I just give it a go, even though I hadn't done it before? And so I just had that idea in the back of my mind and your little voice ever since, going, okay, you could speak. And so from that, I started doing webinars and sort of speaking to people online, which of course was the format for a few years there. And it's kind of naturally come to this point that we are now starting a podcast. And I'm just absolutely thrilled that you get to be our very first guest because
Amazing.
you've kind of been instrumental in us getting here. And I know, Clem, you also said Suze has kind of impacted you and your journey here today as well.
Yes, I've been very quiet up until now just because I'm trying to like soak in the moment and I'm like internally freaking the F out. But so Suze, I have been playing in my head for the last few years what type of podcast review I would give Brand Builders Lab podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I will be posting it after this recording. Let's put it that way. I listened to your podcast when I first started toying with the idea of starting my business and such. And you did an episode about showing up. And I went, yeah, I need to show up. And then I bought Play Big, Brand Bold, your fantastic book. And I have little Post-it notes everywhere. And I occasionally like go back to look at it. But I went, yes, I'm going to show up. So that was when I started my TikTok account. And a couple months later, I think Krishla and I ended up getting connected on TikTok. We started following each other on Instagram. And 2.5 years later, thanks to showing up, I've got a really good following on TikTok. I've got clients off of showing up on social and just telling what I know about. And one of the things that I also thought about after listening to that episode about showing up was I'm going to show up to the point that I can be on either Suze's podcast or I'm interviewing her and I'm actually speaking to her. And
I love it.
It's
here
happening.
we are.
It's
So it's taking I just can't describe how much it's just this year has been a bit crap for a few people, but this is just one way to end the year for me. It's just yes.
That's so amazing, Clem.
So,
Yes to showing up. I
yeah.
love it. Look at everything that it's done for you.
I mean, I show up in my tracksuit pants and pajamas with no makeup, but you know what? Apparently 13,500 people thought that was really great. So
amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good.
So thank you. You brought me and Krishla together.
I love it. I love hearing stories like that. That's amazing. That's like made my day.
Well, good. I'm glad. And now I can write out the podcast review and give you 5 stars. Like 4 years after listening to it and not having the courage to put it out there. So yeah, I'll be doing that after this. But why don't we hop into some questions, because this interview is really about the topic of, I think, pivoting, reviewing, and, you know, it is the end of the year, which is naturally the time where business owners and teams and such will be reflecting on the year that's been, and also the coming 12 months, you know, with 2023. What should business owners be looking at when they are evaluating success of their business, and what should they define success as?
Oh, what a question. I feel like
I know.
What a question. I feel like everybody's definition of success is so different. You know, I talk about seasons of life, and, you know, I've got people in my community who are mums with young kids, and I've got others who are seasoned business owners who have been in business for a really long time. And so I think it's about, what does success look like for you right now? Because success for everybody in different seasons of their life is going to look different. You know, when I had a job and I had young kids and I was starting my business, the fact that I just started a business was success for me that year. You know, and then when I ended up leaving my job, that was success. And then when I was really in my business full time as well, I just think really congratulating yourself on, number one, getting through the year sometimes is a mark of success. I think doing things that were brave and that took a risk and that you really needed courage to make happen is something that you should accredit yourself as being successful. Money can absolutely be a measure of success, but it should not be the only measure of success.
And a lot of people measure their success by the income and the profit.
And I think in business, like, it's really natural because we talk about money, and business is, you know, part of our business is making money and wanting to grow that revenue. I totally get why we do that. And I do think that it is one of the things that can be a measure, but I think that you would be doing yourself a massive disservice if it was the only measure of success.
Yeah, we have it's just like ROI with social. You know, when people say, "Oh, well, there's no direct ROI," it's like, well, there actually is. You got to think about the things that don't make you money, the time that you save, the community that you build. There's those things that people forget to appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think, you know, the relationships that I've built, the opportunities that I've had, the people that I've met. I just, like, you know, at the beginning of the year, I went and spoke at the Huddle, which was 700 women in regional New South Wales. And to me, that was a massive success, you know, and I just think we've really got to take a look at the things that we want for ourselves in our business, the things that make us feel amazing, the things that help us to take the next step in the journey of where we're trying to go. And I think we've got to celebrate all of that, because if you're planning on being in business for a really long time, there are going to be years where you're financially successful and years where you're not financially successful, and you really need to have a wider lens than just money.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. And yeah, that Huddle event looked amazing. I had some serious photos, seen that online. So looked so good. Such a great group of people. Yeah, and that community piece I think is really amazing as well. Now, Suze, I know, because I'm in the Bold Brand Academy, that, you know, you've got a really great process for reviewing, like, the year that was, and obviously planning for the year to come. So I'm going to ask if you wouldn't mind to share a little bit of that with our listeners, obviously quite high level because it's quite a detailed process. There's a lot that you do within this, and if you're lucky enough to be part of Suze's groups and to work with her, you can do this as well. But what steps are you taking, right now for your business, or you're talking to your clients about taking to sort of reflect on the year that's been, and then, of course, to plan ahead for the coming 12 months?
Yeah, I think that if you've been in business for a while, then it's really important to review before you start planning, because it's really taking into account, what have I built? Like, what do I have? What's worked really well this year? What's not? And I think a lot of times, especially if you are in those beginning stages of business, you're testing and trying a lot of things as well. And so it's not like you may decide to carry everything that you've tested and tried this year into the next year. I think it's important just to sit and say, okay, what made me money? What didn't make me money? What made me happy? What didn't make me happy? And sometimes you will find that things that made you money didn't make you happy. And then you've got to make decisions on what that looks like. Am I tweaking and changing it? Am I getting rid of it? Am I doing something completely different? And so, an example is quite a few years ago now. When I was in the process of building my business, I had a lot of things. I had a membership, I was doing coaching, I was doing events, workshops, courses, everything. And I really had to sit down and assess and take a look at each product and service and decide on those things. What's making money? How much did it make? What was the effort that it took? And is it in line with what I'm trying to build moving forward? So if you take a look at where you want to be in the next 12 months, I always say you have to start building the business you want in 12 or 24 months today. And so you've got to really have that foresight of planning as well, where you're saying, okay, this thing that I have, is it working for me? And do I still want to have this in the next 12 months? Like, do I want to build and grow this when I think about future me and my future business? And so I think sometimes we've got to make those decisions as well. I think as far as reviewing goes, looking at when were good months for you. So you might have seasonality in your business, because if you can kind of go, something, May was a really amazing month for me, then it's like, okay, well, what did I do and what was going on in May? And maybe I need to plan in February and March and April for what's going to happen in May, so that I can boost those results that seem to be quite good at that time of the year. So you're going to be taking a look at what happened during the year, seasonality, financials, what products and services you want, really thinking about what relationships and communities worked really well for you, so that you can factor that in to now what you're going to plan for in the next 12 months as well. So I'm just very deliberate, I think, with what I'm planning and what I'm doing. And I think that I'm always looking at the story that's just been, in order to plan for what the story is going to be for the next 12 months. And so for me, even in this year, 2022, I've got a number of different programs, but I want to simplify for next year. So I'm like, okay, well, Courageously You will be part of BBA in its new form. The Bold Speakers Collective sits within Amplify, so it's about consolidating as well. And then taking a look at, well, how much revenue did I make? And if I want to make 20% or 50% more, then how much is that? Where is that going to come from? And what am I going to do differently? And so how can I plan more to be able to hit that goal for myself? Within that, I've got my 12-month calendar up here on the wall. So the first thing I do is that I block out all of the school holidays, I block out all of the public holidays, and I block out all of my holidays. And then I build my business plan around that. So
you plan personal first, business
always
second.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've got kids as well. So I'm like, the last thing I want to do is like book a retreat during school holidays, because also that doesn't work for my audience. And so I think you've got to think about your audience too. So do you plan ahead now, or are you waiting until I am a planner. So I have to say, I went to
Welcome to the Planners Club.
I went away to Thailand in September, I think it was, September or October. And I had a really amazing break. And then when I got back, I could not get back into work. So I had like an extended break. So right now, I actually wish I had another month up my sleeve. So I'm actually feeling really energized and raring and ready to go because I had quite a big break. So I think it just depends on kind of where you are at the moment.
Well, you could take this Christmas break coming up to build your TikTok account.
I could, Clem. I'll have to come and find you and get some tips from you. But
don't worry. I have a mental list. You know how it is. Like you'll go onto social and you might see someone that's that you're colleagues with or that you're a big fan of, and you're like, oh, they could do this, they could do this, they could do this. If only I could talk to them,
Surprise.
Come find me.
Yeah.
Come find me, Suze.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I'm mainly on Instagram. I kind of I'm really like half-assed on TikTok.
No, I've got actually a good solution for you. So
okay.
Yeah.
We can talk.
This isn't a sales call or anything like that. But
I love it. So
no, but find me.
Yeah. I will.
Anyway, so this is something that Krishna and I speak about usually just before we record. We have these before we start recording our podcast. We have we kind of do like a win and whinges moment a bit. Like we talk about what's been going on the week and then like what those tough moments have been. But we have the big thing that kind of drove us to doing this podcast as well is that we have found that these last 3 years have been incredibly tough for everyone, especially for small business and especially here in Australia. And what we feel wholeheartedly is that 2022 has been so much harder mentally than 2019, 2020, 2021. How do you keep going when those times are getting really tough and just difficult and it's kind of like just slogging through mud in order to get to the finish line?
Yeah. I love the visual of that.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to use another word, but we're trying to be family friendly here. So
all good. Yeah, I mean, I think that you've got to be kind to yourself as well and just be okay with giving yourself the break when you need it. It was kind of like I said, I went away on holidays and I had a big break, which I kind of haven't had for a really long time. And then when I got back, I just could not get back into work. So I just had to give myself the space to do that. And something, I'm not going to beat myself up about that. So I just think we've got to take a look at what we can do when we can do it. I think that we need to take the space when we need it as well. And I also think that the reason that this year has been so much harder is because we've come out of the fatigue of the 2 years. And so just recognizing that and saying, what can I do now that's going to help me to continue just to move forward? You may not have a big growth year. You may not make loads of money, but can I just move things at a pace that works for me as well? And then I know that I'll kind of get back on the horse and do what I want to do when I'm ready to do it as well. And so I think that is what I would say, is just to be okay in that space when you can. I think the only thing I'd say is that some people from a financial perspective really struggle because they have to make the money. And so that's where we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And for me, I always just said to my husband, and I know this may or may not be what people want to hear, but, somebody who I know who's a friend of mine who's super successful in business, I remember her saying, like, in the first few years of her business when cash was low, she'd just go get a barista job. She'd just go do something else. And I think sometimes we see that as failure. I'm just like, if I ever just needed extra money, I'd just go work in Gorman or go do something. Do you know what I mean? I'd just go figure something out. I'd do some consulting or whatever. There's no shame in that from if you need to make money, like getting on Upwork and doing stuff for people and then continuing to run your business. I think that we've got to get creative. And I think that there is this kind of stigma out there that if you're only making money in your business, then that's the only way to go. And I just think there's so many different ways that we can make this work for us. Yeah. So be kind to yourself, look at what you can do within your business. If you need to do something a little bit different for 3 months, do it. Who cares? And then just get back on and do what works for you. Because I also think that from a mental load perspective, for some people, if their business isn't up and running in the way that they want, then just going and getting something where they don't really have to think a lot, but they're getting paid is another option as well. But otherwise, I think we've just got to be smarter about the way that we do business. And when you've got the energy, do the work that matters. And what I mean by that is the revenue generating work, not the work that is fluff and faff and doesn't actually help you to move your business forward.
I need to hear that.
Yes.
It's easy
tough chats with Suze Chadwick.
I know. But it is. It's easy to fall into that busy work, right? Instead of, the stuff that really matters. I love this idea, of being a bit scrappy. I think Amy Porterfield used that term, like getting scrappy, doing kind of what needs to be done so that you can keep doing the work that you love. And, and this, I guess, brings us on to our next question, or the thing that we wanted to discuss is, what if, somebody listening here today is kind of at that point where they're at a crossroads and they're deciding, okay, should I keep putting all my blood, sweat and tears into this? If it's not working, if they're not making that money and they need to, should they pull the pin and call it quits and just cut their losses, or should they take the gamble and sort of keep going all in? I'd love to know if you have ever personally experienced this, or perhaps one of your clients has, and kind of what advice you would give somebody if they're kind of at that point right now after a couple of tough years, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you can look at take that step back and look at your business and sort of see what's working and what's not, ideally you should be able to evolve it in a way that works. And so if you can see, well, that doesn't work at all, then I can start to move towards this. Or am I kind of getting an inkling of something that I'd like to do that may still kind of be in line with what I do, but it's a different offering, if it's a different service? How about I try that? And so before anybody throws in any towel, the thing that I would say is, have you actually tried everything? Because I think a lot of times we're like, well, I did this one thing and it didn't work and I didn't make money, and so now it's time to kind of like throw in the towel. So you just have to ask yourself, how bad do you want it? Because if you want it really bad, then you'll figure out a different way of doing it, and you'll figure out how to be scrappy and how to kind of create whatever you need to in order to make that little bit of money and then start to build and grow what you can. As far as myself, kind of, those few years ago, I culled 80% of my business. Like I was like, all right, let's just get even stuff that made money. Because I was just like, that's not what I want to do. That's not how I want to work. And so then I really focused in on that thing, which was BBA at the time, that I just wanted to build and grow, and speaking and that. So I think that number one, ask yourself, have you really tried everything? Number two, can you take bits that are working and run with those and cull what's not working? And then also, I guess, just be creative. And are you making the offer? It's really the basic stuff a lot of the time that will make you the money that the majority of people don't do when they're in that situation. Yeah. So I'm just like, pretty much every week there's an offer that I'm making somewhere, somehow.
Yeah. It's about getting out of your own head and putting it out there time and time again, even if you're hearing crickets, right? It's like course launching, which I've done quite a few times now. And sometimes you have a great launch, sometimes you don't. And you've just got to dust yourself off, get up and do it again and learn from it. So, I love that advice.
And I think the one thing I'd say with that, Krishley, as well, is like, even years after being in business and having, 6-figure launches and all the rest of it, I have launched and had one person buy. And the thing that you've got to remember is that it's not about you. You either didn't get your message right, you didn't market it well, Yeah, or there was something wrong with the way that you packaged it and put it out there. There's always a reason. And I think a lot of times we take a lot of it onto ourselves. Like, I'm rubbish, I didn't do it, I'm not very good at this, people don't love me. Like, it's very personal to us. And I just want to say, like, when I launched and I knew the product was great and I got one person sign up, I was like, I missed a trick. Like, something was amiss. The message didn't land, or I just didn't sell it well. And so I revamped it. And then 4 months later, I relaunched it and had like, a good number of people join. So I think that it's that tenacity as well to just fix stuff. And I think sometimes people hold on to things that aren't working and they keep doing the same thing, hoping for a different result. And you've just got to break it. That's like, my word for next year is bold. I'm going back to my roots, and I'm just going to break it all, and I'm going to do what I think I should do. And if it works, awesome. And if it doesn't, I'll figure it out.
Well, speaking of bold, then what big, bold things can we expect from you in 2023, Suze?
I don't know, Clam.
Besides showing up on TikTok.
I mean, for me, it's more about how I operate in my business that I put that word against. And it's more about, what am I doing that I feel is really listening to myself and not listening to other people? What is it that I really want to do? What are the creative ideas I've got that I want to play with and implement? So I really want to do like a savvy sales, like coaching week, which I'm already planning for, which I've never done before, but I've been wanting to do it. So I'm like, all right, let's do that in like end of Jan, beginning of Feb. Like, let's try that. I really want to do more calls with just my community where we get to connect and stuff like that. So I think that sometimes we get wrapped up in what you should be doing and in the funnels and the processes and all of that. And I am just kind of stepping back and going, what do I really want to do? What is it that really lights me up? What helps me to connect with my audience more? Because when I do that, it always leads to more clients and more money. So I'm not even focused on the money bit, but when I do the stuff I love, where I'm in my zone of genius and I'm absolutely just enjoying interacting, what I need comes out of it.
And that's something that we kind of tell our clients, Krishla. It's like, you don't have to do all the things and the shiny baubles and be that barramundi going after the shiny bauble all the time. You do you sort of thing. And, what I think some people really forget about marketing and the stuff that you hear all over the digital space and stuff is it doesn't necessarily work for you, and you have to find what works for you and your lifestyle and find the easiest, most efficient, and most fun ways for you to create that content or create that product. Because then it's just, I think you just end up naturally shining a bit, which I think is kind of what you're getting to, is that it comes naturally then, and you show your enthusiasm, and then people really want to feel that enthusiasm as well.
Yeah, like at the Huddle in Orange in regional New South Wales, I talked about being magnetic. I talked about magnetic magic, and I talked about aspirational desire, which is basically where you might have somebody on your vision board where you're like, one day I'm going to work with them. And that's, really thinking about how you become that for your clients. And I think that you can only really become that when you show up fully as yourself, because you're not trying to be like somebody else. It's everything that is very you, and it's really unique and it's different, and your energy and the way that you talk about stuff really just connects with the audience that you want to be attracting to you. And so I think that a lot of times people hold back because they're like, well, maybe worried what people are going to say, or they don't really want to be fully themselves. And that is actually the thing that will make you the most desirable to the people who you want to be working with. I just think if we can lean more into that, then the right people will come. I think sometimes I get clients that are like, oh, I just don't have Like I'm not attracting the people that I really want. And then I'm like, well, what are you sharing? What are you saying? What are you doing that's you? And they're like, well, like I'm doing that. And it's not fully them. And I think it's only when we step into that and, one of the things that I talk about is it's the thing that you're not saying that will be the thing that will turn your business around. Like it's the thing you're holding back. It's like you really want to say this thing, but you're like, oh, it's a bit, I don't know that people are going to really be okay with it. I'm like, that thing that you've put a pin in over here where you're like, I really want to say it, but I'm not going to because it might be a bit controversial. I'm like, that's the thing that you need to say. Like if you really believe it, then say that.
Just do it. Just post it.
Just do it. Just do it. Like what's going to happen? I don't know. I think that we think that like all these bad things are going to happen. I'm like don't worry about it.
It's fear of judgment, of shame, of getting canceled. It's all that kind of stuff. But
and I think
just do it.
The people that we're speaking to on this podcast and that we're working with, you're not going to be as controversial as Kanye. So I think you're pretty
hopefully not.
Right? Like
if you are,
there's a lot more controversial people out there. So, and I think actually, Suze, that's a really nice, reflecting on the way that you're showing up can also be a really nice part of this end of year process too. So have you been bold? Have you been showing up and sharing yourself to your full extent is probably a question we should be asking ourselves. I know as you were talking then I was thinking, okay, maybe I can do that more, for next year as well. So that will definitely be on my goals list. Maybe I'll make a vision board this year.
I've actually got my vision board on my screen. So I did mine. I updated mine like about a month ago, where I've got a picture of like from a supper club dinner, which is one of my community dinners. I've got a picture of all the women. I've got one of me speaking with the number of paid speaking gigs I want. I've got a picture of BBA with the number of clients I want in it. I've got holidays. I've got Paris. I've got like all of these things that I really want for myself. And every morning when I turn my computer on, it's the first thing that I see. And so I think just also really thinking about what is that big, bold vision that you've got for yourself? Like what would amazing look like for you? When we're talking about where do you want to be in 12 months' time, I've got this big vision for myself, whether it's in 12 months or 24 months' time, that I'm speaking at this, massive retreat with like 1,000 people, men and women maybe, and I'm talking about how you can be more bold in your business and really embrace everything that you are. And so in my mind, I visualize that, like I know what it is I'm going after. And I think that when we were talking about what do you do when times get tough, I think you've got to have something that you're working towards that is bigger than the money and bigger than the product and what is it that you're trying to build? What's the impact that you want to have? And if you don't show up and you don't do the thing, then what's the cost to the client that you're really wanting to work with as well? And I think that when you kind of dig deeper into that, and if you can create that kind of vision for yourself, I think it's really powerful in getting you through times when things aren't going well and things are tough, because you're like, okay, I know it sucks right now, but I am going to go after, like I'm still going to go for that big thing. I'm just going to keep going and I'm going to figure it out and I'll just do what it takes to get me there. And if this doesn't work, then I'll just work out something else. I think that mindset is really powerful as well.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing. Do you know what, Suze? I might make myself a vision board. I've never done one. I've always been I don't like the scrapbooky kind of style, but I like your idea of just having it on your computer screen like that. I can do that. That seems very achievable.
Hopefully that's something we can do on Canva.
Yeah. So mine is just in Canva. Okay. And I just go and get all the pictures and I do all the little like things. It like doesn't take long. Turn on your favorite tunes. like, I've got my financial goals. I've got other like fun things that I want to do as well. So once again, it's that balance. Yeah. It's not just the money. It's about all of the other things. Like I love my community and I love meeting up with them. And I'm like, what else can we do? Like retreats and supper club and conference. And like now that we're out and about, like that feeds my soul as far as my business goes. And so how can I do more of that?
Excellent. I love it. And your retreat is on my imaginary vision board, but maybe I need to put
Is it an aspirational desire?
I need to put it right. I need to put it right in front of me, don't I? So I see it every single day and I know why I'm doing this because, especially when times are tough, I think that's going to be really helpful. Oh my God, that's so amazing. So amazing. I'm feeling very inspired. You have dropped so many incredible gold nuggets of inspiration here today, but also I love, as always, Suze, you're so practical in your approach. I feel like, I can take some of these ideas and roll with them, and I'm sure that our listeners will feel exactly the same. Now, before we wrap things up, I want to ask you if you have any final words of wisdom, or if perhaps there's somebody that you're reading or listening to and really finding their wisdom beneficial at the moment.
Yeah, so I have actually just unsubscribed from a whole lot of people personally, because one of the things about me being bold next year, and it's not that I don't love them and it's not that I still don't follow them on socials and all the rest of it, but I just made a decision that I really wanted to lean into listening to myself and trusting myself as well. And so that's something that I'm just spending a bit more time in, because I'm a massive consumer. So I listen to audiobooks, podcasts, I read emails, like you name it, I do it. And I'm just kind of like, let's maybe give ourselves a little bit of a break from that to start really processing everything that you've learned. And I think that's something I would say is that we are massive consumers a lot of the time, but how much space are you giving yourself to think about what it is that you want? Listen to yourself as to what you want to create and how you want to do it, and just trusting that you will know what you need to do, but also implementing the learning that you've maybe spent the last year consuming as well. So I think it's really important I'm always about, if I learn something, how have I implemented it? Where have I implemented it? Like I'm not going to doing anything else until I've like done this thing that I really wanted to do as well. So I think that is something that I definitely say to focus on, because what did I call it? It's like just being digital consumers, like we just disposable. Passive. Well, disposable digital economy is what I called it, where we're just like, and this, and let me buy that, and this, and then we just don't do it, and then we feel overwhelmed, and then we feel really rubbish about ourselves because we bought all the stuff and then we didn't do it, and it's like this vicious cycle that we're in. And I'm like, just stop for a minute and let's just assess and let's implement, listen to ourselves, do the stuff that matters, do the revenue generating things. And so, one thing I would say is that every week you should be able to look at your financial accounting system, your bank account, whatever it is that you use, even look at just what you did that week and ask yourself, what did I do this week that helped me to grow my business? Did I speak to people in the DMs? Did I make an offer? Did I email my list about something? Did I do what I call the drive-by offer, which is like where I talk about lots of other things and go, by the way, did you know that I have this thing? And I think that just really looking at that on a weekly basis, I think we're like, oh, at the end of the quarter or at the end of the financial year, how did I go? I'm like, no. How did you go this week? What did you do this week? Because if I can nail it every week where I'm doing something, whether it's going to a networking event and meeting people and telling them what I do, or it's making offers online, or whatever it is, doing lives on Instagram, what did I do that helped me to grow my audience and connect in a deeper way? because if I do that every week, I can guarantee you will be making progress in your business.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh, that's even better than yes. Oh my gosh. Yay.
No excuses. No
No
excuses.
excuses, exactly. That is such a great reminder, such a great thing, I think, to put into practice right now. We don't have to wait till next year. We can do
No.
it right now.
Yeah, we definitely could.
Excellent. I love that. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us, Suze. It has been an absolute pleasure. I've written notes here. Like, I am feeling inspired, ready to take action and be more bold. So you have definitely achieved your vision here, at least with us. But where can people find out more about you, more about what you do? And I know that you've got a deadline coming up in terms of BBA. So if you want to tell people about that.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me, ladies. I love this chat. You know, I can talk about this stuff all day. But yeah, so BBA, which used to be Brand Builders Academy, it's now the Bold Business Academy, so it stayed BBA. We are on the 21st of December. The price will be going up on that. I've just done a full revamp of the whole program, which I'll be rolling out over the next month or so once I get back from leave in January. And so if that's something that you're interested in, where you want to get the foundations of your business in place, all the systems, strategies, structure, and mindset, then that is a great place to be. And you just go to suzechadwick.com/BBA and you can check it out, grab it at the current price, grab all the bonuses as well, and come and hang.
Yay. And it is an incredible program. I can attest to that because I'm in there myself. So if you do come in, you'll see me there as well. So thank you so much, Suze. Once again, I'm absolutely thrilled to have you as our first guest. We couldn't have asked for a better first guest. Another mad marketing mum out in the wild.
I'd say this is probably like the very big win that we've had this week, Krishla.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Suze. This has been it's been surreal. It really, really has been. I don't know what else to say besides thank you. I've got like 30 timestamps to go through of your words of wisdom. So
awesome. Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, and congrats on the podcast. How exciting.
Yeah,
thanks. Amazing. Yay for you.
It's happening finally after so many years, so many thoughts, so many excuses.
You did it.
It's finally happening. So again, thank you for the part that you've played in that, Suze. It's without you, we wouldn't be here, which is just amazing.
My pleasure.
Well, it may have taken us a little bit longer, but whatever. We're here now.
All right.
Awesome.
This is like now officially the end of the episode. So
yes. This will be a blooper reel.
Part of our bloopers, so this is all good. Thanks, cool. Suze. I know you've got to run because you've got your coaching call. But yeah,
thank you.
Amazing.
Well, congrats, ladies. Well done.
Yeah,
very exciting. Yeah, that you're launching.
Some more implementing, I have to tell you. So, because I'm very prone to purchasing online courses and programs and not completing them, or completing the learning but not the implementing, right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, that is definitely...
Yeah, that's my problem as well, is that implementing. It's like, yeah, that's a great tip. Yeah, that's a great thing. We should look into that. And then, 6 months later, it's just not there.
Yeah. Simplify and implement. Those are the two things. I'm like, implement it and then like simplify as much as you can.
Yes.
For sure.
Simplify and implement.
Okay. Well, Suze, one more thing just to ask you.
Yeah.
Would you mind sending through a beautiful headshot of yourself that we
So
can...
you know the link that I sent you?
Link.
Yeah. There's a Dropbox full of images.
Oh, sorry. I must have missed that.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I got it. I'll go get it.
Okay. We'll go find some beautiful photos of you. Thank you once again. Have an awesome rest of your week.
Yeah, I will. Hang on. Let me just take a quick...
Yeah. Let's do a little selfie.
Hang on. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Awesome.
Was that a booby or a photo?
Look wonderful. We look amazing.
I don't know. I'm standing still though. So.
It was just a picture.
Good.
A picture.
Beautiful. All right. Take care. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Will
Cool.
do. Oh,
Thank
amazing.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.